and this is Talk with Tay. Should I have bloopers? I don't know. It takes a couple tries for you to for sure get it right, so check. Can't even hear it till I play it, so I'm not really sure. Hey everybody, it's Taylor, your host, back with Talk with Tay. I have a little bit of a script I'm kind of going off of that I've kind of just trying to stick to, but also I'm going to just freeball it as well. This first episode is going to be titled What Makes a Home a Home? And I want to explore the concept of home, like what it truly means to me, and how our experiences shape the ideas of where we feel safe, grounded, and connected with one another. Little disclaimer for myself or for the viewers, if it looks like it's tough for me to get certain words out or to talk about certain things, it's not because I have no thought in my head and I don't know where I want to go with this. It's because I'm bringing up my own past and my own thoughts about certain things. And sometimes when we're, working through in our head while we speak it, even though I've lived it already and I've talked about it before a few times, it's kind of like you're reliving the situation in your head almost. So it takes a little second to process. I promise you I know where I'm going with it and I know what's in here. It's just having to get it out onto you guys because I'm reliving that in that moment. So I decided to, for my first part of my own story, to kind of just start with where I am right now, currently. Go back and forth throughout my life through each episode about what events and situations have shaped my own story to who I am today and stuff like that. Currently, I said kind of in my first episode a little bit, I live in San Francisco, California, in the Bay Area. I'm originally from Southern California in a small town called Temecula. I have lived in this apartment for about almost 2 years now, which is kind of insane to think about. I'm 22, but before the age of 20 years old, I had moved over 17 times in my life. And every single one of those places that I lived in, things happened in, a lot of things, and it also showed me what constitutes a home to me. Like I said, I've been here for 2 years. I'm very structured in my schedule where I am and my routine, very aligned with my daily stuff. I go to work, I do school, errands, work out, hang out with my partner, do other things. So I'm very like a structured person, I would say. But I definitely did not always used to be that way. I've always been a very type A person, but because of my circumstances and my situations, I didn't really have the opportunity to do those kind of things. So we'll back it up all the way to kind of the beginning, just for moving wise. I'm just kind of going to explain a little bit of each house from my earliest memory. I was born into a blended family. My full mom and dad got separated and divorced before I was born. So I had already moved in when I had come into the world. I'd already had whole other family with mixed blended families. I moved a lot growing up. There was a lot of homes that we went through. Me and my siblings, my parents had both been married multiple times. And in those times, there were houses, apartments, different things. On one side of my family, mostly my father's side, it was a very, very chaotic lifestyle. We were that house on the street that the cops were always at. So that was really good, which caused us a lot of times to end up moving. We were always moving to different places, same area, same town, which was interesting because I could probably go through my hometown and say that I've lived on almost every single street if I go through it. At some point, I was only living with my father by myself. And during that time, there was a lot of moving. I don't think we stayed anywhere for more than maybe a year at a time. I don't even think that, if that. There was apartments, there was homes, there was partners, kids, all throughout different times. So I just never really understood the whole, like, I would call it my home, these places, but I knew deep down, even as a kid, that, like, that wasn't really a home, I grew up with a lot of kids that all were born and raised in the same area, and they had all, not all of them, but majority of them were born and raised in the same houses that they grew up in all the way up until they graduated high school from birth, and occasionally a few of them had moved 1 or 2 times maybe. I always remembered that as like a kid, one of my biggest things I was so angry about is I was always going over to a lot of friends' houses and sleeping over and stuff and having them sleep over because I just didn't want to be alone with my family and the chaos that was going on. But I remember a lot of kids would be like, oh, I get scared sleeping over, or that whole thing. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever had a friend or somebody that was like, oh, I don't like sleepovers. I couldn't understand why they would tell me, oh, I am scared to be away from my family, or I don't want to be away from my bed. And I'm like, it's one night. Why? Like, I would be so unempathetic about it and so angry. And I realized that later on, as I had done more work in myself, that was my own trauma coming out on them, because they grew up in a very different, environment, lifestyle than I did. They didn't know anything different. That was their safety. They had a safety net. I didn't have a safety net. And so everything was consistently just changing. People would make fun of me because they would be like, Taylor, you can literally sleep anywhere, like a park bench, the last NASA rocket launch, in a car, sleeping during that concert, people fighting. Like, I could sleep through anything because I kind of had to sleep through everything. I had to adapt myself, especially like having sleepovers with friends or family. I never thought twice about that. That was never an issue for me. It was normal. I would just be so angry that why do these kids, more so I think taking out my own anger of these kids get to be in this one home all the time with their parents under the same roof, or if not, just in the same home. They get to go to the same bed every night. They know where they're going every single night. So why does that affect them that much, And now I understand a little bit more now that I have had a stable home. It was probably not until I was 14-ish, that home that I was in at my mom's, that I was taken to, was the first place that I genuinely consider my home. I remember it was just a very, very difficult transitional period in my life. I was leaving my father's house. I left with just a backpack on. I had nothing. I had no clothes, no nothing. And it was like I was kind of building this home from scratch all over again as a 14-year-old. And that might sound like not that old, but I mean, that's still a lot of life that you've already lived, and trying to build a home at that time in your life it's already so much change going on. And I was dealing with a billion other things at that time as well. As the years went on, and as I started to, be in this home for longer than, I think once it had reached probably senior year of high school, so probably around like 2 to 3 years, I had never felt so much security in my life. I had never experienced that many times in my life. Didn't know where I was going to sleep at, if it was going to be in a hotel, if it was going to be in a RV, if it was going to be at a grandparent's house, at a family member's house, at a friend's house, if it was going to be taken from one house, if we were just leaving and not coming back. Like, it was just very, very unstable. Never had a stable home. A house was just a house to me. But by this time, don't want to get too off track, but by this time I had gotten to this point in my life in this home. And it's funny because this home is like, and I don't want to like, I'm not talking down anything, because my mom has built up like from the ground up, and she's my idol forever. But it's not a big home. It's 2-story, but very small compared to everyone else I knew where I grew up from. Very not bougie in any type of way. Very small suburb house. Very safe neighborhood. So I'm forever grateful for that. But something about just that security of knowing that I was going to come home every single night and had a place to go to, and knew that I had a stable environment with the people that were in there, it shifted my whole perspective on a home. And going from being a kid that would be out till 4 or 5 in the morning, I'm talking like my party stage happened way earlier in life because I was exposed to so much at such an early age. I no longer wanted to wake up in a random home in a trap house. I didn't want to sleep over anywhere. I occasionally would if I needed to, but I'm saying like if it was 5 in the morning, I was somewhere, I'm like, I'm gonna go home. Like, I'm going home. I don't care how I'm getting there, but I'm going home. And I remember my mom, like, she'd be pissed at me for being like home so late. And there was just a lot, like, we just weren't in the best relationship at this time. But I think when she started to realize that even though I was still engaging in like somewhat would say like unsafe behaviors at that time, she felt just like a different type of love from me because I had that trust and that security within her that I was going to come home to this home that was my home, and I wanted to go home. I didn't want anyone to take that away from me. This was now my safe haven spot, and I had never really had a safe haven spot before. Some point throughout life, my safe haven was school because home was not safe. And then things happened at school, which we'll get into in another episode, and that no longer was safe for me. So I had come to the point where I was like, I really need to create the safe space. That became my room. My room, safe space, would not leave. And that also led to not as well things too, because I became so codependent on my room as being the only safe part of my life that I didn't want to leave it. Didn't want to leave my bed, didn't want to leave my room, which obviously can lead to depression, stuff like that, which led to further things. Once I had kind of figured all that out and I'd, gotten help in those areas too, I had realized that this home was just, it meant so much to me. It's to the point of everyone's like so excited to go to college, and I was so excited. I was like, I'm so down, I'm ready to go, like ready to be on my own, because I've been on my own before, like as a kid, already kind of raising myself, but I'm just like ready for it, the party, whatever. When I first got to school, which I went to Arizona for school, there were so many things. I wasn't scared to be on my own. I wasn't scared to take care of myself. I wasn't scared to live by myself. I wasn't scared of the dark or anything like that. More so is I had not had a safe security of like something I felt safe for my whole life up until such a late age that by the time it got to that, it was almost like my mind was not ready for me to leave that yet. I didn't want to leave that yet because I think once I left, I didn't realize if I was ever going to get that back. I ended up coming back from college, finished college, graduated, but did it through home. And I'm grateful for that for my own mental health, because it did teach me that a home is so much more than just the ground that it's built on. It's what you build of it, and it's what you make of it, and it's really the people who make of it too. It's not just the foundation, which I've also been struggling with lately, bringing it back to where we're at now. Since I'm up in San Francisco, I think once I moved, because I was so adamant about moving to be with my partner, because we'd done long distance for years and I was kind of over it, and I was like, either we're gonna move in or we gotta call this quits, because I can't keep doing this. I came up here, moved in, and I just remember I was so excited, so adamant about it. And then my drive up here when I was leaving, I think it would just started to become surreal to me that I wasn't going to go back. I wasn't going to go back to that home that night. And yes, the home was still going to be there, but it was not probably ever going to be the same no matter what happened. And that really broke me on the way up. I think I probably cried for a solid at least half of the 8-hour drive, for sure, 9-hour drive. And it wasn't even it wasn't even like I cared about my hometown. It was just that one place, that home, just the home and the people in it that had built that home for me. My mom, my stepdad, my older sister, one of my other sisters. It was just a home. There was just no judgment. There was so much growth, so much trauma, but so much love that had occurred in this place that I just felt like, if I leave this, I'm so scared I'm never going to be able to build this on my own, But I would say now I've done a pretty good job of that up here. It's taken a long time, and I'm not going to say that it's my ideal thing for sure, and I'm just going to be honest. I always like to be kind to myself, meet myself where I'm at. I'm not going to fake anything to anybody. I don't care if you're random people or if you people that I know, because, everyone's entitled to believe what they feel or feel how they feel. I do know, though, that I am really working hard to build where I'm at into that same type of home. I remember first moving in here, and I don't know if any of my girls or guys can attest if you've ever moved in with a partner, especially with a man. Very frat boy style, no decorations, nothing like that, right? So I came in here and I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to fix that, because this is not gonna work for me. I need to feel homey in here, because I'm not going to be able to survive here, and I'm not going to be able to flourish here if I don't feel that home security that I had built for so many years from the home I just came from. I don't want to go back to square one, because at that point it's like, why would I even be here? Why am I changing my whole life, moving somewhere completely different, if I can't feel that security and that comfort and love that I had now built back at home? So I've really been working hard about doing that. I made it a point to pictures and decorations, throw pillows. Guys always say, oh my God, like that's so extra. And what about it? And if it makes you happy and it makes you feel more homey and that's something you value, which is me, then do it. Like, fuck what they say. They love you. They will support you. And that's kind of how it's been going. I am now in a place too, I just actually found out, which my family's actually moving homes. Mom is moving homes. She just let me know this actually like probably a week ago, which is I think what was my initial thought for my first episode of where I wanted to go with this, because it kind of rocked my world. She told me that they're moving and eventually they'll probably move far, but for now, just for a few years, they're going to move into a different house. And it's not that far from where we are now. It's probably like 15 minutes. But I think in my mind, and I don't, and mind you, I don't even live there right now. Like I don't live there. I moved out. And I don't even have a bedroom in there anymore. Like it's, my mom turned into an office. She always said if I needed to go back, she would always remake it my room. Always made that a thing. They have my dog there, so forever grateful for that. But when I heard that, I was like, and it's so funny because we've always talked about in my family about moving to a bigger house or to a better house. Like we grew up with not a lot of money. Mom's built her empire for her business, finally in a place where we can afford something better. I was like, had so many mixed feelings in that moment of like, how do I explain how happy I am for them, and that I'm also so sad inside. And it was like a part of me was like broken just from that. Like I said, that was the home that made me a home. Like that was the house that built a home for me, that taught me what a home is, what love is in a home, what makes a home. It's not the nice countertops. It's not like we had the oldest fridge ever, but we made it through. And I always knew that was going to be there and I was always safe. And hearing that was going to be no longer the place I was going to, it was like, I really had to take a step back. This is a foundation. It's a physical foundation. But the feelings I feel when I walk in that foundation were created by myself and the people in it. And it's not the foundation itself. Yes, that was the place it was in, but I can rebuild that again. Altering my mind back into that thought process really helped me ground myself in that moment, because I really was going to freak out. And I'm already somebody that does not like change. They say people with trauma really, really struggle with change. But I knew that it was inevitable. Change is inevitable, and that's okay. I'm really learning that change can be a good thing. It can be a great thing. It can also be a bad thing sometimes. There's a lot of things that aren't certain in life, but one thing is for certain is life is always changing, and it's something we just can't. It's inevitable. So I knew that this was better for my family and be closer for my little sister's new school. My mom's always wanted to buy a home. We've never bought a home. Even this home we've lived in for now, it's been 8 years, almost 10 years. And we've been renting this home the entire time. We've never bought a home on this side of my family. We never had the money or means to. So I know that's just a really big deal to my mom, because she feels like she can really make this her home. So I'm trying to just take a step back and be like, okay, this makes sense. I understand all the positives in it, and I want nothing but the best for my family. I'm just looking forward to the future of my own home that I eventually make. And yes, I live in an apartment, but this is my home where I'm at. It doesn't matter the size. There's not a size that constitutes a home. It's what you make of it. I just wanted to share my own experience with kind of somebody that's moved into many, many different houses, never for military reasons. I'd always use this as my fun fact at school. I'd always say, yeah, I've moved over 15 times. And I'd be 14, and everyone's like, oh, is your family in the military? No, actually they're not. So that's cool. That was always a little icebreaker moment for people, because they don't really know how to respond to that. But I could probably move another 15 times in my life. I don't want to, But I do know that whatever home I do go into next or where I'm at, that I can create that same feeling that I felt there. It's completely possible, and it's possible for anybody as well. Anyone who's watching here, to meet yourself where you're at, where you're living at, whatever your living situation is, whether that be on a friend's couch, whether that be in your parents' house, whether that be with your partner, in a home, in, I don't know, in a bus, in a, like wherever you are. Everyone's lives are so different. Everyone has such different living situations for so many different reasons. Meet yourself where you're at and validate like what you've built for where you're at. And as long as you can feel secure with where you are, no matter if that's even physically or not, where you go home and you're like, I can breathe. Like, I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to be anybody for anybody. I can just be me. I can just breathe, and I can let all the shit that's outside of the world just be. And once you've been able to create that in whatever place you're in, then I'd say you created your home. That's just my advice based off of my own story. So thank you guys for listening to my segment this week on my home. Next week, I'm going to be diving a little bit more into my story and other things about how things have also shaped me. But I just thought that it's kind of nice to go back and forth between past me and present me. I can't really go into future me because that's like not really possible. I think that's cool just to be able to kind of relate to where I come from, how it's shaped me, just like I said, how it's created the person I am. And we'll just kind of go back and forth with it, and just, you know, we'll do baby Taylor and then we'll do big Taylor. And I'm so grateful for the amount of support that I've already gotten. You guys are amazing. My family, friends, random people that have reached out, work people, like, it means the world to me. So yeah, I will see you guys next week, and have a great week.